Thank you for joining us today. Once again, David Moore with Equity Advantage, and we're blessed to have Robert Zink of Zink Realty Advisors here today. And Bob and I have been friends and business associates for 20, 25 years probably. And we've actually gotten to do a fair amount of play together too. We've gone hell skiing a few times. He introduced me to that ailment, and I think as soon as you do it once, it's going to be a part of you forever. So I don't know if I'll get that 1,000,000-foot suit ever, but I'd sure aspire to have that.
Be nice.
Yeah, definitely. One of the great things, and the reason I've worked with Bob, knowing him so long, is he's just not somebody that's going to look at real estate straight up and what it says. He's going to have a tendency to look at things and see what he can do with it. But Bob, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started in the whole thing, and what you like about real estate. And I do want you to tell the helicopter story. It's my favorite. So,
Well, good morning, David. Thank you. I started in real estate quite a while ago in Eugene, Oregon. My dad had been in real estate, and it was a retirement plan. In summer, he was a school teacher, so he had summers off and worked on that, and suggested that maybe that would be a way for me to go, and not having to punch a clock at an office 8 hours or 9 hours a day and being on my own appealed to me. And so I had a lot of friends and clients and all young attorneys and accountants and just people that we just went out and bought rental houses and duplexes. And real estate's a very creative vehicle. You can kind of do things. You mentioned the helicopter story. 25 years ago, when it was a down market in Eugene, I worked for the nation's largest land syndicator in Dallas, Texas. It bought pre-development land, and we flew investors around showing them path of progress land in helicopters. And we've dropped off the investor. We're going back to the heliport, and the money raiser in the helicopter said, I'd love to find a house that I could afford in the market we're flying over. And I looked out the window and I said, well, there's one you can buy cheap. And he goes, what do you mean? I says, the pool's green, which means that the owner isn't there, and there's a good chance in that economy that a lender owned it. So we actually put the helicopter down in a cul-de-sac, went over, got an address. The pool was in terrible shape, and bought a pool with a house attached from a lender that wasn't taking care of it. So it's a very creative, fun way, and kind of, as you've noticed, expanding that is you can change the use on real estate. You buy an old warehouse and turn it into a commercial building.
Highest best use. It might be something obsolete for someone else, and you can make it work.
I and some partners years ago owned a warehouse in downtown Eugene that today the federal courthouse is on that site. So, things change over time. So.
It's funny how all those nice spaces, those nice buildings are owned by the banks or the government. Seems like.
Yeah, they could afford it because they're buying it with our money.
I was in Hollywood actually, in L.A. over the weekend, and downtown you've got a fair number of new buildings that have just been built, and I was looking at them, and at the top of every building there it was like a bank. Or it was interesting. We had financial services. You had banks or actually accounting firms, which really surprised me in that economy. But anyway, so the bottom line is real estate. I love real estate because we're not betting that stuff's going to go up, and your background is one that you're going to take and look at something and make it better. And if you're not having to bank on appreciation, that's always a great thing.
Well, and you're right. You can change the use, you can improve real estate, and also it's not just appreciation, but we have debt reduction. We oftentimes forget this component of over time, the tenants are paying off their loan.
Yes.
I mentioned to you when we were talking that there was a book when I started, a little paperback called Making Money While You Sleep, and it was about that, is your tenants actually paying off the loan on your rental property, and that by itself is a lot of money over time.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Well, thank you, and appreciate the introduction here. We're going to take a little break and come back, and we're going to talk, continue the conversation with Bob on some other topics. Thank you.